Discamus de antiquis. Let's talk let us talk about former events, people, things. Because today we're finally going to learn new tense. Before we've been stuck in the present. Carpe diem is a positive. You want to be focused on things you can control, the here and now. But it's important to be able to talk about one's past as well. And for the first time ever in Latin, we are going to be able to do that by the end of this video. And we're going to be able to do it in a specific way. We're going to be able to talk about events in the past that occurred over an extended period of time, kind of like a video rather than a picture, the sort of thing you can interrupt, right? I was walking to the store when a dragon ate me. So my walking to the store in the past was interrupted. Those sort of things is the gist of the new tense we are going to learn, which we will call the imperfect tense. And it's going to let us talk about the past. So let's dive in. And let's start by just looking at some examples, just so we get a little glance at some of these forms. If I want to talk about something nunc now, we've got that down cold. In every conjugation, we've done it. So Marcus Helenam amat, right? Right now, Marcus loves Helen. But wait, now we can say that was in the past. Marcus is a new man. He's moved on. Marcus Helenam amabat. So this would be what you might say if this was in action yesterday or earlier. Right? Marcus was loving Helen. Implied that that is no longer the case. Regina tempestates adificat. This is one from our story we did in our last class. The queen builds storms. Now suddenly it's about the past. Regina tempestates adificabat. She was building storms. Now we know from Brooke that she's building, from Omnis, that she's building Silwas, forest. So she's really diversifying her portfolio and moving on in her career, which is important. Graecis credimus. We trust, we believe the Greeks. Well, as we know from reading our story about the Trojans, the wiser thing now would be that Graecis credebamus. We were trusting the Greeks. That is no longer the case. They built a fake horse, they filled it with guys, and they, destroyed a town and did a lot of bad things. So, now non credimus Graecis. We don't trust the Greeks now. Credebamus. We were trusting the Greeks before. And Regina in Silva est becomes Regina in Silva erat. Let's put that macron on there. And this last one, we won't actually really talk about the formation switch here. You might have noticed something different. That's irregular, but we'll talk about it in class. I just wanted to give you a little foreshadowing. All right, so let's dive into how I'm making these changes from amat to amabat, adificat, adificabat, credimus, credebamus, and get a little more comfortable with it. Before we do, we actually have learned how to do something and make a verb past tense, a different past tense before, but only in passing. Can anyone remember how we did that? How I would say I called, for example. Pause the video. I'm going to give you a hint before I tell you. Remember the principal parts? This is where it was involved in. Does anyone remember now? Try and tell yourself that. I'll pause the video if you want to think more about it. Yeah, it was that third principal part, right? Wokawi, I called, right? I called, to call, I called, having been called. I destroyed, deleo, delere, to destroy, delewi, I destroyed, deletus, destroyed, or having been destroyed, right? So all of these, I destroyed, I called, I said, I captured, I came, are all perfect tense, but as you notice, it's an action that is non-interruptible. I called. You can't interrupt that action. It's more of a photo. And the tense we're talking about now, imperfect tense, that we're going to be learning more thoroughly, is not a photo. It's a video. I was calling. It's ongoing action in the past. All right? And we'll continue to talk more about that idea. For right now, we can kind of think of the imperfect tense as the one tense we know that isn't happening immediately. It's happening sometime in the past. Moving forward. All right. Imperfect tense formation. As opposed to the perfect, which went is built off that third principal part, we're actually going to go back to our friendly old second principal part for the imperfect tense. Okay? So nothing too crazy new. We're comfortable with this. We know it. And just like we did before, we're going to chop off the RE. Is our formation. Chop off that RE. So we're left with woka, dele. We know with the wiki, we chop off everything. Deek, cop. And then with the strong E, we chop off. We're left with weni, right? And what we're going to add is either bombas bot, bamus batis bant, or ebam ebasibat, ebamus ebasis ebant. And so that's one way of thinking of it. I actually find it easier though when we look at these forms side by side, right? We add bombas bot onto the first and second principal part with the RE chopped off, right? So that's totally typical. But once we got into the third conjugation and the fourth conjugation, you were suddenly left, you have to kind of supply an A-bomb. So you go to that second principal part, chop off the ERE, and slash an A-bomb. You go to the second principal part, slash off the ERE, and add an A-bomb, but because it's an IO verb, you have to add an I before it. The really simpler way I think to think about this is that with the first conjugation, you have A's before the B, and with every other conjugation, you have E with a macron before the B. And then if you keep that simple rule in mind, I think it's simpler just to remember that the third IO and the fourth, just like they typically do, will stick a little I before other vowels. And so that's what distinguishes them from the third conjugation, that you have that I there. And I think that's probably the easiest. So you just remember vokabam, vokabas, vokabat, and for all the others, you just remember, okay, it's going to be A-bomb. A-bomb, A-bas, A-bat. Ardebam, Ardebas, Ardebat. But that's just for really forming it, right? The really nice thing about all these conjugations is that there's really one set of endings, bam, bas, bat, for bamus, batis, bant, for every conjugation. It's much, much easier to learn how to form all of them. One kind of simple pattern. Rather, with the present tense, we're learning all the different vowels. The other nice thing is we've seen most of these endings for, right? Bas, S, you, right? You were doing something. Bat, he was doing something. Moose, we were doing something. Bamus, right? Batis. We've seen it's those regular OST, mustis, and endings. The only difference is now that O has become an M. So that's the one trickiness. But there's a lot of things we can attach to prior knowledge. I also think, a good little Latin beat is always helpful. And this was really my first hit single when I started the Latin music or Latin grammar song route. But if I can remember how it goes, I think it's just something along the lines like bam bas ba bamus batis bant bam bas bat bamus batis bant bam bas bat bamus batis bant. If you aren't singing it, you should be. And it's actually, though, seriously, singing is a really great way to get something locked into your brain. And so if you sing it a couple times, I bet it will get stuck in there, and then you don't have to spend any idle time studying. It's glorious. Okay, so real quick, the final point I just want to make is about sheep and the fact that they are imperfect creatures. You can see here, right, they try to be their best, but they make mistakes. And if you can just remember that sheep are imperfect, it should be easy to remember that when we see those bas, ba, 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 in Latin, we should be thinking, when as bas are attached to verbs, we should be thinking imperfect tense. All right, I know that ba, it's a sheep, and I know that sheep are imperfect. So I know that this verb is imperfect, and I'm talking about the past tense, and I'm talking about an extended action in the past. I was calling, you were calling, he was calling. I was burning, you were burning, he was burning. I was saying, you were saying, he was saying, so on and so forth. Okay? So, keeping all this in mind, go take a crack at the practice exercises in the textbook that I signed on the portal page. Remember, this last step is critical for you being an active learner and applying the stuff we just talked about so you can really test whether or not you understood it. If you want more, if you want the full forms, the full conjugations of each of these verbs or each of these conjugations in the imperfect tense, you can find them in your textbook in chapter 11. Just go to chapter 11, flip through it, and you'll find all the conjugations written out. All right. Hope this was helpful, and we'll talk more about it in next class. All right? See you next time.